Philomena Envoy, sweet friends. I am Eldara Oakwing. Welcome again to another story session on the Caretakers of Paradise podcast. I come to you now through this matrix of language and technology from a time far beyond the days you now live in, a time when the world has found its balance, where the earth breathes freely, and where the wisdom of the ancients flows through every aspect of life. But the journey to this world was not an easy one, and it is a story passed down through the generations, one that has shaped who we are and how we live today. Let me share with you this story, as it was told to me by my ancestors, and as it lives on in the heart of the neo-druidic people. In the time before my time, the world was very different. The elders speak of it with a mixture of awe and sorrow, for it was an era of incredible possibility, but also of great peril. It was a time when humanity had reached a turning point, where the choices they made would determine the fate of the earth and all who dwelled upon it. This was the time of the digital veil. My ancestors describe it as a force that fell over the world like a shadow, not dark and heavy, but bright and alluring. The digital veil was woven from the threads of technology, media, and culture, and it had the power to enchant the minds of those who gazed into it. It all began with the rise of the internet, social media, and the ever-present screens that became a part of daily life. These technologies were miraculous in many ways, connecting people across vast distances, providing access to knowledge, and creating new forms of expression. But beneath the surface, they carried a hidden danger, one that few recognized until it was too late. The digital veil was subtle in its influence. It began by offering convenience and entertainment, drawing people into its embrace with promises of connection and endless possibilities. But as people spent more time within the veil, they began to lose something precious, their connection to the natural world, to each other, and to themselves. My ancestors tell of how the veil dulled the senses, making the vibrant colours of the earth seem pale and distant. People became absorbed in the digital world, their minds filled with the constant stream of information, images, and sounds that flowed through their screens. The more they consumed, the more they were consumed by the veil, until their thoughts were no longer their own. And it was said that people became like zombies, not in the grotesque way of old horror stories, but in a more insidious manner. They were alive, but their spirits were dimmed, their actions guided by algorithms and the subtle manipulations of those who controlled the veil. These unseen masters were not monsters, but corporations, governments, and organizations that had learned to harness the power of technology to shape society to their will. The unseen masters used the digital veil to mold public opinion, to sell products, and to maintain control over the masses. They were clever, using data to understand the deepest desires and fears of the people, and then feeding those back to them in ways that kept them trapped in the veil's grip. My ancestors say that the world was full of noise, constant, unrelenting noise that drowned out the quiet voice of the soul. But not all were lost to the veil. Among my ancestors were those who remembered, who still carried within them the old ways, the wisdom of the earth, and the stories of our people. These were the whisperers, and they knew that the only way to break free from the veil was to return to the source, to the land, to the rhythms of nature, and to the deeper truths that had been forgotten. The Whisperers did not fight the veil with force, for they knew that would only strengthen its hold. Instead, they moved quietly, speaking in whispers that carried on the wind, in the rustle of leaves, in the stillness of the night. They began to gather in secret places, away from the glow of screens, where the veil was thin and the earth's magic was still strong. These places became sanctuaries where people could come to remember, to feel the earth beneath their feet, to listen to the songs of birds, to watch the stars as they wheeled across the night sky. The Whisperers guided those who came, helping them to reconnect with the natural world, with their own bodies, and with the spirit that dwelled within them. The stories of these sanctuaries were passed down to me, and I know them well. My ancestors would describe how people would arrive at the sanctuaries, weary, their eyes tired from the constant glare of screens, their minds foggy with the noise of the digital world. But as they spent time in these sacred places, something began to change. They would walk barefoot on the earth, feeling the coolness of the soil, the warmth of the sun. They would breathe deeply, filling their lungs with the scent of pine and wildflowers. They would sit in silence, listening to the whisper of the wind, the murmur of streams, the distant call of a wolf, or the hoot of an owl. And slowly, the veil would begin to lift. I've heard how the eyes of those who spent time in the sanctuaries would brighten, how their steps would become more sure, their voices more clear. They would begin to remember who they were, beyond the labels and roles that the veil had imposed upon them. They would remember their connection to the earth, to each other, and to the divine spark within. The Whisperers also taught them how to use technology in a new way, mindfully, with intention, as a tool for connection rather than a source of distraction. They repurposed robotics and AI, integrating them into practices that supported life rather than controlled it. They used technology to restore ecosystems, to build sustainable communities, to enhance creativity and innovation in harmony with the natural world. Transhumanism, too, took on a different meaning in their hands. My ancestors discovered that true evolution came not from merging with machines, but from realizing the full potential of the human spirit, mind and body. They learned to trust in their intuition, to develop their innate abilities, and to reconnect with the ancient wisdom that flowed through their veins. The story goes that as more and more people came to the sanctuaries and awakened from the digital veil, the world began to change. The unseen masters lost their grip as people reclaimed their autonomy, their sense of self, and their connection to the earth. The veil did not disappear entirely, but it no longer held the power it once had. People had learned to see through it, to walk in the world with clear eyes and open hearts. And so the balance was restored. My ancestors tell of how the earth began to heal, how the forests grew back, how the rivers ran clear again. They speak of how technology and nature were brought into harmony, each supporting the other in the dance of life. And they tell of how the stories of those times were passed down from generation to generation, so that we would never forget the lessons they learned. These stories are my heritage. They have shaped who I am and how I live in this world. They remind me of the importance of balance, of connection, and of the deep wisdom that lies within each of us. And they guide me as I walk my own path, always with an eye to the earth, an ear to the whispers of the wind, and a heart open to the stories that flow through the land. May these stories inspire you as they have inspired me. May they remind you of the power of remembrance, of the magic that lies just beyond the digital veil, and of the deep connection that we all share with the earth, with each other, and with the spirit that dwells within us all. Let us remember that even within the digital veil, there are ways to harness its power for the greater good. By sharing these tales and insights, we plant seeds of awakening in the digital landscape, helping others to see through the veil and reconnect with the deeper truths of life. So I invite you to like and subscribe, not just as a simple gesture, but as a way to use the algorithms to our advantage, spreading these stories far and wide, reaching those who are ready to hear the whispers and begin their own journey of remembrance. Together, we can guide humanity through this transition, using the tools at our disposal to weave a new narrative, one of balance, connection, and harmony with the earth. Thank you for walking this path with me and for helping to carry these stories forward into the world. Blessed be your journey, and may the light within you shine brightly as we continue this shared mission. Blessings, dear friends. See you next time on the Caretakers of Paradise podcast.